Since the turn of the century, the Millennium Development Goals, also known as the MDGs, have guided global and national development efforts towards one main objective: eradicating poverty. But as the deadline for their achievement approaches, we need to review how this international collective effort can be sustained and improved in a changing global context. So the question arises, what next? Since 2009, the European Report on Development, supported by the European Commission and 7 EU member states, has explored major development topics, stimulating the global debate and informing policies. In 2013, this flagship independent report, drafted by a team of researchers from 3 European development institutes, looks at how a new post-2015 framework could stimulate global action to promote development and support the efforts of the poorest countries.
In the course of a very short period of time, approximately 1 million people in a country of 9 million people were killed. Rwanda has gone from being a country in conflict to one of the few countries which will hit most of its Millennium Development Goals.
Indwara z'ibanze nka malaria, imisonga, n'indwara zindi zishobora gufata byihuta.
Today, thanks to the resources mobilized, community health workers in Rwanda are essential to the country's social and economic development. As for Côte d'Ivoire, a country which is also still healing the wounds of a civil war, the impact of investments by the state is not always felt in the life of people.
Si c'est au niveau du travail là, l'État là, bon vraiment nous on voit le travail là vraiment ils ont construit beaucoup de usines après laquelle là, il y a les usines ont construit, bon travail là ça va, mais nous les pauvres nous on gagne pas. Bon, nous on gagne pas parce que bon, travail là, on voit travail là, ça commence pour aller, mais nous, on ne trouve pas. Nous, les pauvres là, on ne gagne pas.
The situation in these two countries suggests that if we want to find long-lasting solutions to eradicate poverty and sustain the improvements made so far, we need to adopt an approach that builds on the MDGs, but is also broader and addresses issues which were missing and that lead to structural transformation. To ensure this approach is in line with the ultimate objective of inclusive and sustainable development, it should be built on an updated understanding of poverty. The post-2015 framework will need to adapt to a world that is changing rapidly. By 2050, the global population is expected to reach 9.3 billion, and 80% of it will be located in Asia and Africa. Poverty is falling, but is likely to remain high in sub-Saharan Africa and to be increasingly concentrated in fragile states. Several environmental planetary boundaries are already being transgressed. Forecasts of economic, demographic and environmental trends all point to the urgent need for bolder and more radical approaches to global collective action. It's becoming ever more urgent to tackle together all 3 aspects of sustainable development: economic, social and environmental. The report highlights the need to take action on 3 key drivers for development. Firstly, a new framework will require not only more financial resources, but also new ones, and a better use of existing ones. Secondly, trade and investment are key to support efforts to diversify economies and create jobs in productive sectors, thus to reduce poverty and inequality in the long run. And thirdly, as the case of Nepal shows, the issue of labour migration needs to be addressed seriously.
Each year, 400,000 young people enter into the world of work. We have been so far able to provide employment to just 40,000 people. That will leave some 360,000 with unemployment.
Faced with such poor employment prospects, many Nepalese decide to try their luck abroad. For some, like Shanti Lama, this decision comes at the risk of becoming victims of human trafficking or ill treatment and of seeing their most basic rights violated.
अनि एकदम ठुलो परिवार एकदम गाह्रो भयो मलाई त ठुलो परिवार पकाउनेदेखि लिएर सफासुग्घर गर्नेदेखि लिएर सबै एक्लैले गर्नुपर्ने दिनको त 24 घण्टाको दिनमा त 2 घण्टा 4 घण्टा भन्दा सुत्नै नपाउने धेरै जस्तो 2 घण्टा परेछु त्यहाँ रुँदा कराउँदा गरेर न फोन गर्न दिन्छ एकपल्ट फोन गर्छु भनेर गर्दा त
To put an end to these human dramas and harness the positive potential of migration for receiving countries, sending countries and migrants, the international community should agree on a global migration regime. Moving beyond the MDGs means setting new objectives for a post-2015 global framework that go beyond a poverty reduction approach, focused mainly on social sectors. In other words, it should also integrate new dimensions and objectives, for example, related to inequality, employment or sustainability. The case of Peru, where social inequality remains a challenge, highlights the importance of taking measures that go beyond the MDGs. Dorotea Puma was born an orphan and spent her childhood in the fields of the Peruvian Andes, where she still lives today. Thanks to the Puno-Cusco Corridor project, she learned how to make traditional textiles, how to sell them, and what to do with her earnings.
Proyecto Corredor Puno-Cusco no kay kutak no katakman ang maki ahna mas arikita chi achiwarang asambas no kay porsili manta kolkait contrapartit churekuspa yang ay ti achiwarang kulyapa warmi masikunat komunidad kunap alto.
Today the project has finished, but Dorotea has taken on a leading role in her community, empowering other women to make a living and to be aware of their value as individuals and members of their communities. But moving beyond the MDGs is not enough. We also need to move beyond the existing instruments to explore the often untapped potential of international flows, such as trade, migration and investment, and support countries in mobilizing greater domestic resources. We also need to increase transparency in international financial flows. In the light of the new challenges, a post-2015 framework for development calls for a more transformative agenda. If poverty is to be eradicated, we need to tackle its roots. This calls for economic and social transformations that emphasize creating employment, addressing inequality and poverty in its various dimensions, and finding sustainable solutions. To achieve this, it will be key to ensure that global goals relate to national policy needs and targets, linking national and international efforts in a mutually supportive way. Global action will also need to be scaled up, for example in areas such as international finance, trade, migration and climate change, enhancing policy coherence for development and continuing to increase both levels and effectiveness of aid. As part of this global effort, the EU has an important role to play. The post-2015 framework needs to build on the experience of the MDGs and keep the promise of the Millennium Declaration. Together, we can work to achieve an inclusive and sustainable future for all.